surrounded by hatred and trapped by fear. I'm in a box. I've got no place to go. If I follow my mind, I know I slaughter my own. Help me, I'm the prisoner. Won't you hear my plea? I need somebody, yeah, to listen to me. I beg you, brothers and sisters, I'm counting on you, yeah.
Welcome, peace and love, family. Welcome to the Northeast Political Prisoner Coalition. I'm Brother Frank, and you know how we do. This is about acknowledging our political prisoners and doing something to bring them home, right? You know, I always say if you're an artist, write art, do some artwork on political prisoners. If you're a writer, write a piece on political prisoners. If you're a journalist, do some work on political prisoners. We all can do something. Today is December 4th. It is the day that Fred Hampton was assassinated. They took him away from us physically, but, not mentally in terms of his ideas, the ideas that he organized around. He was about being accountable, and he had a rhythm when he spoke. And, today's episode, when we talk about youth, entertainment, and liberation, that's exactly what we're talking about, using your talents to raise awareness, raise the consciousness of our people, of our community, of our nation, right? Because we still are dealing with oppression. We've been dealing with it since the first African was kidnapped and made to force for the duration of their life. We still have work to do. We don't want to pass this information or this responsibility, rather, to another generation. A psychiatrist, Martinique, born author, revolutionary thinker, Frantz Fanon said it best. He said, each generation must, out of relative obscurity, discover its mission, fulfill it, or betray it. And that's the role that the youth have to play, right? Some of our parents, they all are taxpayers. Those who are working, these entertainers, they live in that tax bracket. So their money is going into the system. So, they should be aware of that and realize that they have to do something about it. So when we talk about Fred Hampton, he was conscious about what was happening to his people. And he decided that he needed to do something. And he decided that he was going to stand up. He was going to fight back. He was assassinated at the age of 21. He was so young, so fiery in terms of his passion to move his people forward. So when we talk about Fred Hampton, we got to talk about what does that mean to us, right? Because Fred said, if you ain't about no revolutionary business, right? He said, then don't even speak, don't even use his words, don't even say his name. And I think that let people know that was his legacy. That is what he wanted to be recognized in terms of his contribution to his people, to his nation. He knew those who taught him about his role. He didn't want to let them down. And he wanted to let them know that he was about the business of making serious change, changing his reality and changing the reality for generations to come. So as a youth, he knew that he was not going to be wasting his time. He knew the value of it. And that's why you seen him being consistent. That's how he was so resilient with his role, his responsibility. So that's why on this day, when we talk about Fred Hampton, right, think about his assassination, we got to make sure that we're stepping up, that we're doing what needs to be done. Kendrick Lamar, he's conscious about what's happening, and he's using his platform. I recently listened to his album. I believe, if I'm not mistaken, it's called GNX. I don't know what that's acronym for, but I listened to one of the songs. He had a song called Reincarnated, which used the same beat that Tupac Shakur had used for Made N words, and he did an excellent job with that. And I thought that he was showing respect to Tupac, his legacy. When I did the research on Kendrick Lamar, and he spoke about Tupac Shakur, he said that Tupac's music was more than just words. Tupac inspired me, just the simple way of how he put his words together. You really felt them. You really felt the passion behind them. And I think that, that's very important, that an artist must be connected to the people, must know how to organize people, and must know how to use their talents to raise awareness, to let people know that we have a role to play in what's currently going on. And we have a number of people looking at us, listening to us, looking for guidance, right? And we have to give them proper guidance. And that's a serious responsibility. That's something that you can't take lightly. That's something that you have to step up and do what needs to be done. So Kendrick Lamar on February 9th, 2025, he's going to host the halftime show. This halftime show at football for the Super Bowl is going to be viewed by a number of people, millions of people, right? Nationally and possibly internationally. And he has an opportunity to make a statement. We look at what he's done when he had the when he was feuding with Drake, and he had the Not Like Us, and he was able to bring different gang members together. And at this moment, they were able to have some level of peace and understanding, and realize that they need to be united on some things. I think that he was made aware of his power and his position in the industry as an entertainer, that he can raise people's consciousness. I know I was listening to another song, and he was talking about he uses his money for community centers. And I thought that that was very inspirational, because now he's challenging other artists to do the same, to stop spending money on things that lose value, but spend money, invest in things that retain their value, because that's what a community center does. It retains its value in the community. The community has a place to go to get information, to become better people, to move more as a collective, to exchange resources. So for him to make that statement, for him to understand what needs to be done, I think that that lets us know that we, as the consumers, I've been listening to hip hop for quite some time, so I invested enough time and money into hip hop. I have to make those artists be responsible. I have to make them aware of what's happening. So they are selling millions of records. That means that they're reaching millions of people. Because according to one research, it said in 2023, with 277.27 million total albums, equivalent to 25.3% of the market. We're talking about the music industry. That's a lot of people that music reaches. And people, of course, you have certain audiences listening to a song over and over again. They're putting that message out to a number of people. Just imagine if they knew their role very clearly, but some artists, they have to accept that role, accept responsibility, decide that they're going to do something with the knowledge that they have now, that they're going to make it their responsibility to guide youth, guide a group, their peers, into an area of thinking that they need to accept, because of what's happening, right? The attack is ongoing, and there needs to be a resistance force. Who's going to be that resistance force? And artists like Kendrick Lamar understand their power. They understand their position. I remember listening to one of his albums, and he talked about he visited the jail cell with that Nelson Mandela was held for over 2 decades, almost 3 decades. And that inspired him to make the music that he made, because he knew that somebody sacrifices for greater good. And he sees himself as one making sacrifices. which brings me to the brother Tupac Shakur. Tupac Shakur, his mother, obviously we know this. For those who don't know it, his mother was Afeni Shakur. She was a member of the Black Panther Party, and she once defended her own self in a trial. And this book right here lays out who she is and what she did. And when we look at Tupac and his legacy, him making Brenda has a baby, dealing with these causes, accepting the role, accepting responsibility, that was because how he was brought up, what he was taught that he needed to do, and how he was the continuation of a legacy of resistance. And Tupac inspired Kendrick Lamar. At some point, Kendrick Lamar is going to inspire somebody. But when you look at Tupac Shakur and how he was raised and who raised him, people like Mutulu Shakur, who used acupuncture to get people off heroin addiction. People like Sekou Odinga, brother he mentioned in one of his songs as one of his teachers. Sekou Odinga being a professional organizer, being a professional revolutionary, being involved in the liberation of Assata Shakur. That also is in his book and is detailed, and he understood his role, right? If you respect your teachers, you want to honor your teachers by the life you lead, by what you decide that you're going to do in terms of stepping up, in terms of carrying on the message, right? You're going to carry the message on to another generation. Tupac understood that very well, and he did his job, and he used his platform to raise people's consciousness. And he did that for as long as he could do it. One of the things that, bothered me is that, Tupac, he's not the only one, but, some of these artists, they don't know their power. Tupac, I think, knew some of his power, right? But obviously, you have to grow, you have to age, you have to have more experiences, you have to accept your role, accept responsibilities, and this takes time, and you have to be patient with yourself, right? And you have to have people around you that is going to let you know, like, listen, you gotta slow down, you gotta move in this direction. These people over here, and they need you, and they need you to be very clear about what your role is in terms of how it relates to their everyday struggle. Because Tupac, Kendrick Lamar, they're from those humble beginnings. They know how it is to not have certain things, and people who are listening to them wanting to hear from somebody who relates to them. And that's why when Tupac had made Dear Mama and started talking about his mother's drug abuse, that was directly related to what was happening. And Tupac, he made A White Man's World, and he's talking about, you hear the change. That made me think about Sekou Odinga being in prison all those years and wanting to come home and needing the support of his peers, needed support of those who had sympathy with our liberation struggle to organize around that. You had the Sekou Odinga Defense Committee, and they used their resources to do what needed to be done to raise awareness about him, so that when he's up for a parole hearing, that he's going to be granted parole based on the support of his people, right? Because we can never underestimate our power as taxpayers. We can organize to interrupt the system, to let the system know that we are the ones that have the real power, and we are letting you know that we have some demands that we want to be met, and we want you to take us very seriously. And that's a role that we need to accept. That's a role we need to organize around. That's a role that we need to be very serious about making happen. And how does that happen? It happens because we decide it's going to happen, and it happens because we start talking to others. And that's exactly what a person like Tupac was doing. Tupac was letting people know about the Black Panthers and letting them know that there is a system that has been going on for quite some time that's making life harder for us. And it's a system that we need to stand up against, that we need to actually be involved in some organized action. We have to do that. brothers who follow that path very seriously, and a sister, Dead Prez, right? These brothers, their first album came out in 2000, Let's Get Free. And if you look at the background, right, the album cover rather, you see this is a picture of Mozambique, right? Their armed struggle against their colonizer, the Portuguese, and Dead Prez, whatever album, a number of albums that they sold, just that album cover alone raise awareness about a liberation struggle. So it is allowing people to be more conscious about what was going on the international stage. And Malcolm said it best when he talked about we had to take our issues to the international stage, right? You want to have that camaraderie. You want to make those people who are purchasing your album get more than just entertainment. They're going to educate it politically. And Dead Prez did that throughout the entire album. If you listen to Wolves, the chairman of Uhuru, he's speaking, he giving you analysis of what's happening. Dead Prez always spoke about political prisoners because they knew that they had a responsibility to do so, because it wasn't enough to be conscious. They had to let those who were listening know that there are people who are in prison because of that, because of their position of not accepting, not being comfortable. That's one of the greatest lessons that my mother taught me. She was never comfortable with seeing people suffering. And that is the same way Kendrick Lamar feels. That is the same way that Fred Hampton feels. That is the same way Dead Prez feels. And that's definitely the same way that Sister Soldier felt. Sister Soldier, actually, she visited apartheid era South Africa. And from this, she decided that she was going to do something to disrupt that order of things, to make sure that the things that were going on as normal were not going to continue. So she took leadership and led to the university that she was at. This is the University of Rutgers, led to them divesting $3.6 million in financial holding in South Africa, which then led to the state of New Jersey divesting $1 billion of its financial holdings in South Africa. So this is work that Sister Soldier did. She accepted responsibility. She decided that she was not going to be quiet, that she was not going to stand on the sidelines, that she was actually going to do something. So that's the point when I'm talking about youth and I'm talking about entertainment, I'm talking about liberation. You know, these are all interconnected and interrelated, excuse me. And that is why it's very important that we put that pressure on these artists. Accept your role, accept responsibility, do something. So when we talk about our political prisoners not being ignored, when we talk about our political prisoners not dying in prison, then now we got to say we need to support the entertainment industry. We know that y'all have the attentions of our people. We know that y'all are getting a lot of money off of our culture. And we want you to know that, you know, our culture is under attack, our people is under attack. And those who stood up and fought back are in prison because of that. You know, you have martyrs, you have political prisoners. You know, we have to honor the martyrs by the work that we decide we're going to do when we become conscious. And that work should be, we're going to stand up for ourselves. We're going to stand up for our self-determination, our right to develop, to be uninterrupted in our pursuit to control our own destiny. And these artists, the entertainment industry, right? Those artists who are aware, who know what's happening and need to do that. And they're not going to do it without any pressure from us. So those who they rely on to attend their concerts, to even watch their halftime show, right? We're going to say, listen, what are you going to do for us in terms of what we're going through? Are you going to ignore it? Are you going to be a part of the problem or part of the solution? So you could do something. And this is your time to do it. So that's why when we come on this show, right? I mean, when I come on this show, you know, I provide you with that contact information, right? Because I'm not here to just entertain. I'm here to raise awareness about what's happening. I'm here to call on you to pass on the message about what I'm doing, to pass on the message of the Northeast political prison, right? I'm just one of many. And I know what my role is, and they know what their role is. There are a number of people who are part of the Northeast Political Prisoner Coalition, and we are connected, and we are in collaboration with Holla. So there's a role to play, right? So now, what are we going to do about what needs to be done, right? We have to step up. We have to realize that our political prisoners are influencing our people, right? We may not hear talks about political prisoners often enough, but there is somebody who knows that in order for them to have what they have, somebody had to make a sacrifice. Somebody had to push things to make the system know that, listen, there's consequences for the actions that you're taking, that all of us are not going to respond the same. All of us are not comfortable with the attack on us. And when you get influenced to stand up and fight back, now doors is open for you to attend certain colleges, for you to have acquisition to certain resources. Now you have certain positions politically, right? The system is still intact because, just because you have certain reforms doesn't mean that, that system, that way, that method, that formula for exploiting people is not going to end. It only ends when you have an entire change of the system. But in order for people to advance at any level, there has to be some level of resistance. And political prisoners are aware of that. They take that very seriously. They accept their role. They accept responsibility, regardless of what the response of the state is going to be. They know they need to do something. And that's why we have to write to our political prisoners, right? Make it your responsibility, right? We know the holidays is coming up. We know that we're going to have time to be amongst our family. Some of us have recently, came together with our family and had Thanksgiving, right? We was giving thanks for a number of things, right? I told people to thank the indigenous people for their sacrifices, right? Because this is a time where we should have more passion for them, right? Of their sacrifices, of them going through what they went through and not forgetting who they are and what happened to them, right? But as some of us come together for the holidays, right? You have Christmas and you have Kwanzaa, especially. This is times where we need to start talking about our political prisoners. Did you write to a political prisoner? What have you done for a political prisoner? Have you contributed in any level to the awareness of political prisoners? Right? They might need $500, right? But if we break that down, a number of people give a certain amount. 5 people give $100. Or maybe less people give more, and it's a formula to come up with to deal with the needs of political prisoners. The point is that we're not supposed to ignore that role, that responsibility that we have. It is our responsibility to do something, right? Because it's going to give validation for those who make sacrifices. Now, those who are ready to step up and actually get involved, they are going to make a clear decision because they see the treatment and respect and honor of political prisoners and how they're being dealt with. I know that I was speaking to a political prisoner, and we were engaged in a conversation, and a certain elected official had came to mind, and this elected official was actually making it hard for a particular political prisoner who came home and wanted to have acquisition of certain things. And the point in our discussion was that that person was in that position because of the sacrifices of political prisoners. So this needs to be raised to them, right? Because when we think about political prisoners, we don't always look at the entire history of political prisoners, people who are actually are recognized everywhere for what they're doing, and we don't talk about the fact that because of the position that they take, they have to deal with the state attacking them, and them either being a martyr or a political prisoner. Case in point being that Martin Luther King, he was a political prisoner, right? We don't always give him that title. We don't always acknowledge that, right? Because one of the things that you have to realize is that once you start acknowledging something, now what are you doing about it? Now it only becomes valid when you decide that you're going to do something about it, right? It becomes important to do something. So we must organize for our political prisoners to bring them home, you know. And speaking about Martin Luther King, thinking about an entertainer at the time, Mahalia Jackson, and Mahalia Jackson inspiring him or pushing him to talk about the dream, right? Mahalia Jackson, her voice made people calm. Her voice allowed people to really concentrate on what was going on, right? And thinking about Cooks, right? What's his name? He had Change Is Gonna Come. My mind, drifted. Please forgive me for that. Sam Cooks, right? Sam Cooks, he had Change Is Gonna Come. Just think about how powerful and how important that word is, right? That song rather is, and how it inspired people to take a position, to decide that, yeah, listen, those are not going to be the only people fighting back. I'm going to be involved in fighting back and doing something to aid in the advancement of a people. Um, Looking at all these albums that came out in 2023 and albums that came out in 2024 and the millions of albums that were sold. And now when I look at those conscious rappers that are listed, and it's probably only one conscious rapper, right? And that being J. Cole, right? Because everybody, they might have a line or two relating to some level of consciousness, but most of them want to stay clear of that, right? I seen on Facebook, I don't know if it's valid or not, but 50 Cent talked about how he was nervous and scared to actually get involved in some political work or any action, right? They don't want to make their investors uncomfortable, right? They don't want to make them uncomfortable. So they stay clear of what their duties, their responsibilities, their roles. But listen, sometimes people want to play it safe, not realizing at some point you're going to have to deal with this, right? Because the problems are not going to be in one particular area. They're only going to grow, especially as a system in capitalism of moves forward and goes through a crisis and then start to transfer over to fascism, right? Now you're going to have more people are victims, right? If there was 5 million people incarcerated, it could go to 10 million people or 15 million people, just to deal with things in the contents of social sciences and how things play out. You think that you're comfortable in your millions of dollar mansion, right? Until the system decides that, you are part of those who we look at as part of obstacles in our path to control things, to maintain dominance. So now you become a person or a part of a group of people that has to be dealt with. And when they deal with you, it's without mercy. They are not concerned about your cries. They're not concerned about your family cries. They are only concerned about their power, the continuity of it. And this is an issue that everybody will have to deal with one point or another. Political prisoners, people like Mumia Abu-Jamal, Leonard Peltier, Joy Powell, they know their role. They accept the responsibility. And speaking about Joy Powell, we have a campaign. When I say we, I'm talking about the Northeast Political Prisoner Coalition in Holla. It's a letter campaign because we want to get as many letters as possible. Please email me at Sefu Sankofa, SEFUSANKOFA. That's SEFUSANKOFA@gmail.com, or contact my number. I provided my number before. If you were not able to get it, I could give it to you again. Matter of fact, let me just put it on the screen. This is my number. Contact me for that information regarding Joy Powell's campaign. We want to bring her home. We want to be able to take care of her. We don't want to see her die in prison. We don't want to see none of our political prisoners die in prison. They fought the fight for so long. It's time for us to do our fighting, our role. So don't let political prisoners die in prison. Don't let them be forgotten. And I'm signing off. You know the call. Free them all.
Sometimes the riot is a quiet one, or the battle is to love yourself and function in society where voices of reason are muted by anxiety, like gaining notoriety is selling your soul. So we tend to go no deeper than the shallow water level, trying to keep us overhead in the face of all the slurs and the stares, until they frozen, paralyzed by fear of failure and success. So we lock, stock, barrel, running while it's crumbling. All these towers and they're babbling, but the baby's in the bath and the stash under the bed on my head, spinning from the circles and the puppets and the strings that they pull. Then we move. Reactionary warfare never produces winners on the field. Feeble and foolish. What tools and what weapons are we using? We need some new ones. Real revolution. It's real solutions. What we've taken on the ways of the ones who conquer with their guns and religion and division. Got my inner me looking like my enemy. Real revolution. Where my inner me really a mirror for the galaxy. New time, brand new paradigms, new contracts to sign. They thought that this would all be televised, though it's happening right before our very eyes. It's on the inside, with their guns cocked. When that rock drops, standing on the rooftop, praying that the mountaintop can live inside the valley. People tell me the reward is somewhere off in heaven, like heaven's only in the sky. Like chariots are swinging, like God is something separate from yourself, from your wealth, from your lover, from your neighbor. Oh, your savior is coming in your own name, coming with the face the same. Real revolution. It's real solutions. Where we've taken on the ways of the ones who conquer with their guns and religion and division. Got my inner me looking like my enemy. Real revolution. Where my enemy is really a mirror for the galaxy.